On today's Minute of the Apes, we stare into more soulless dead eyes.
They greenlit the sequel without a story in mind. They just wanted to equal an unexpected gold mine. He said, oh no, as Heston said, I got to go. These are just some of the facts you ought to know as we go. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes. Beneath the Minute of the Apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time. I'm Todd, and I've got Richard and Sean with me as always.
Hey, it's Thursday.
Hey, everybody.
It is Thursday. Look at that. I didn't even think about it. The week has just clicked
Flown
along.
by, hadn't it?
All right, Sean, tell us what's going on with Minute 19.
All right, we're going to start Minute 19 with chimps looking on, and it ends with the speaker gorilla saying, but for those fortunate enough to remain alive.
All right, let's take a listen.
Members of the Citizens Council, I am a simple soldier, and as a soldier I see things simply. I don't say all humans are evil simply because their skin is white. No. But our great lawgiver tells us that never will the human have the ape's divine faculty for being able to distinguish between evil and good. The only good human is a dead human.
It's a bloody nightmare.
But those fortunate enough to remain alive.
All right, as of Minute 19, we have 3 living humans, 4 dead humans, 1 dead ape, a shrewdness of apes, and a gaggle of humans. So am I the only one, when listening to the speaker, and I'm not sure who the actor is who's playing this gorilla, I just heard him hooking his thumbs under his braces and going, members of the council, I am but a simple gorilla. I peel my nanners 1 foot at a time, just like all y'all, and I do hate these damn humans. Come on now.
Oh, wait, is that Jeff Sessions? Was that?
Oh, my God.
That's what I heard.
No, he's way too tall to be Jeff Sessions.
I heard the, what's her name's impression of Jeff Sessions on SNL that's going on right now.
I still haven't seen that yet.
declare, Mr. President.
But he just sounds like a good old Southern lawyer just talking about the dirty humans.
I do not simply say that all humans are evil, simply because their skin is white, but our lawgiver tells us that never will they have the ape's divine faculty for the distinguishing between
that's
evil
exactly
and
what
good.
it sounds like to me.
So that is
It does.
That is the actor James Gregory, born in 1911, passed away in the year 2002. I'm going to scatter
How
shoot.
old was he? 90? Wow.
Yeah, he lived quite a life.
Dang.
The man has. You're talking a filmography here, and I'm gonna skim through this because I'm literally going from IMDb and see what I can find. There's a ton of TV work. You've seen this man before if you look at his face. At the Kraft Theater, he's one of those
If
character
you look at
actors.
his face, you might know what he looks like.
I know.
Okay, you can suck it. Twilight Zone, of course. It is just a ton of TV, and there are some films in here, and I'm sure I'm skipping over some great things.
I mean,
he was on
outside of-
Star Trek, the original Star Trek. He played Dr. Tristan Adams.
When you think about these movies, I mean, outside of Heston, almost all of these people were
covered
kind of
up, yeah.
television actors. No, I mean,
Oh, sorry.
He was on a number of seasons of Big Valley. He was on Hawaii Five-0, The $1 Million Duck, Mission
I think
Impossible.
he laid the $1 million duck was about a duck that laid golden eggs, I think.
Are you serious?
That's
Yes.
Sean's wealth of
Like
useless
as
information.
a game show or like a show?
No, as a movie, like a duck that laid golden eggs, and so he was $1 million duck.
So literally, whenever we're done, you
Sorry.
guys can come look over my shoulder at his
Okay.
picture, and you'll
Yes.
go, "Oh, I've seen him 1,000 times."
Okay.
He's one of those kind of actors. But you're right; he does have almost the Yosemite Sam kind of approach to delivering the lines. There is this-
I know, Sean riffed on it, and I kind of riffed on it. I didn't really get that from him.
Oh,
It
I
was kind of
did.
you did? It was kind of a powerful moment.
I think it's powerful. I don't want to demean it at all.
Right.
Real quick, I must back into this. The $1 Million Duck is a 1971 American comedy film produced by Walt Disney Productions about a goose that lays golden eggs. So see, I wasn't crazy.
No, I will say this, and I've known this forever, and Richard, I'm sure you know it too. Sean will pull the most useless information out of his ass, much like Taylor pulls dog tags from his ass.
His ass.
But I didn't doubt you for a second.
There you go.
So
All right.
we move into this minute, and we have unnamed
Gorilla.
soldier, gorilla person who's giving a speech that clearly is in control because of his headdress that he's wearing over his head. We finally get kind of a closer tight on somebody familiar, Dr. Zaius.
We do get Dr. Zaius' intro.
Who was the guy in the purple cloak? Who was that supposed to be?
And
It's not in my script.
Prince?
But I mean, there's somebody else.
James Brown?
There's somebody else that's a leader,
An orangutan?
the head of the council. I mean, who's that supposed to be?
I
Maybe
don't
he's
know.
the clergy. I mean, he's wearing something cloak-like.
He might be, but I didn't get a sense of actually who this particular person was.
I don't
It's
know.
not on the
I don't
script.
know, yeah.
I saw him in passing, but I really didn't pay attention. But now you say that is interesting that he has.
The description of the scene described Zaius and also described the lawgiver statue, which we see at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's also another orangutan that's important sitting down in a purple cloak. And I couldn't find anything to say exactly who that was.
I don't think they
I don't know.
address it in the next couple minutes.
But
But
to
I assume it's the clergy.
Something like that. Someone who's there to bless the meeting. But I think one of the most interesting things we get right off the bat, you've already mentioned, we get to see the lawgiver. We get a true grand shot of that statue.
Mm-hmm. Well, real quick, he said something about, I don't say all humans are evil because their skin is white. So how do they explain Dodge, who they've stuffed and put into a museum, who is a human that does not have white skin?
So-
Is he the only non-white skin that's ever been, and that's one of the
I
reasons
take
they
it as
have him
yes.
in a museum?
So he says, as a soldier, I see things. I do not say that all humans are evil simply because their skin is white. And we are now getting back into this idea of race in
Politics
culture,
of it, yeah.
which hasn't really been brought up at all in this movie. We got a sense of it when we came in and we saw, what was that supposed to be, race or class? When we saw gorilla soldiers, chimps, and orangutans.
Yeah. I think we were thinking kind of class with
Yeah,
them.
a
the way
class
that
It was
was
class
represented.
with them,
There's
but
like
now
a
we're bringing
science
it back
class,
that
a
their
military
skin is,
class.
Their skin is white, not hairless. I mean, it was an
Yeah.
interesting
No,
choice.
that's a good point.
Yeah, the fact that he said white, and that's why I was bringing up Dodge. Is that the first person of color of humans that they've seen? Is it a completely Caucasoid species of humans on this planet?
Well, okay. I mean,
Or on
I'm
this
not,
planet, it's
I'm
Earth,
not going
sorry.
to break
Right.
down this idea of like, what they've casted in terms of these things. But when you kind of go back and look at some of the humans, it was just kind of whoever they had.
Yeah.
So I don't think Dodge really stood out in terms of skin color related to the extras they put in the human camp. It didn't really. I didn't.
I'm
see,
sure they didn't have the thought of, hey, he's the first African American man that's ever been here when they made it. However, I do think that since then, when you look at it, you almost kind of have to go, did he show up and scare the shit out of him because he was something other than a Caucasian human?
It's so fascinating simply because their skin is white. I mean, that is so intentional.
Well,
Yeah.
I think this is a pretty interesting way in the film to start getting real quickly back into the themes of the first one. We've had no opportunity to have those themes because the story has necessitated that we tell what happened to Taylor and Nova. How did Nova become the vessel to get Brent back to here? So now we're back knee deep into it. And the moment we get in, we're having a grandstanding moment by the leader of the aggressive side. And he's telling us things like that. And then even goes on for what is considered to be the very famous line from this: the only good human is a dead human.
But I guess what I don't like about this particular moment is all humans are evil simply because their skin is white. We've now got a situation where we have a militaristic parable with a black leadership. We're moving into a Black Panther-esque moment. We're moving into a situation where what was government has now been taken over by to me, this is playing into fear as opposed to actually having a discussion about race.
Well, hang on. I'm going to save that for tomorrow because I actually have a comment about that because I think you're right.
Okay.
I think it's very important what they're saying because I think those are conversations that are had at that time. But I think there's an interesting dynamic shift that has occurred in these films and the presentation of what they're actually saying to the populace of the people. I personally think it's intentional. And I want to save that for tomorrow.
All right.
So we get a, I mean, we're still really early into this episode. We get a big shot of the crowd. He's still, this unnamed general person is talking, and he's kind of dancing around the leaders, and he's dancing around Zaius and, this clergy, and it's almost like they're on trial. Like, I feel very uncomfortable for them because I would feel in a position of mutiny, of,
like they're trying to overturn
something, like they themselves are on trial, or they themselves are at risk of whatever judgment is about to happen by the soldiers. And then he kind of points up to the sky talking about the lawgiver, and then we get that
shot of the statue.
But is this
the pan up there? Yeah.
Is this the first time we get?
No, we've seen the lawgiver in the funeral scene in the first movie,
but nobody turned to it and didn't say this is the lawgiver.
Yeah, they didn't say that was the lawgiver, but we've seen a statue similar to that, and we've had references to the lawgiver.
But
we've
this
never
is the first
had
time
the
we've
two putting
seen it,
them
and
together.
especially that was not there in the first time we see Tatum running
no,
in
no,
this
not in the
area
arena at all. No,
I don't even know if that was there in the wide shot
It's
earlier.
not.
Okay, yeah.
But it's the first time that we truly see when they say lawgiver, that's what it is. We've seen it before.
Right.
We've never had someone define it.
They haven't. Well, they put the two together. We still don't know what the lawgiver is. We
Right.
know that is the lawgiver, not what the lawgiver is.
And at this point, he's being guarded by one gorilla. So even in this point, the aggression is guarding the faith part of it all.
Is this the same lawgiver statue? Because it seems considerably smaller
I
or
don't think
larger
it's
than the one we saw in the actual temple.
I
don't think
it's new.
Yeah, I don't
when
think
we
it's
talked
the
about
same.
the fact that the original one was in somebody's backyard for a while.
Yeah. I don't think it's the same one.
No, I don't think it's the same one either. Now, I don't know when looking at that, did they actually make that large, or is that a forced perspective?
Well, that's why
yeah.
I was wondering if it's the same statue, just
It
because
could
it does
be,
look
and
like forced perspective.
It could be forced perspective because when you look at it, you look and think that's huge, but to save money, they could have taken the same one.
Put it close to the camera.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that could even be a cutout. I mean,
We can't really tell.
no, you can't tell if it's an actual statue.
Without someone telling us the production notes of it, we don't know.
And again, Brent is watching all this and seems, again, has no issues with people speaking English, these gorillas speaking
Yeah, but
English.
he says this is a bloody nightmare at this point, so he at least is having a nightmare.
He does, yeah. Well, and what prompts him to say it's a bloody nightmare is because soldier gorilla
Just
says
speaking
the
gorilla.
only good human is a dead human. And that's kind of a hard comment.
And so at that point, I actually begin, and this is kind of where I'll lead into what I think tomorrow. This made me start thinking of a Klan rally.
Yeah.
The only good human is a dead human. You know, you start thinking this is the aggressive side of what we saw before. There was the intellectual we have to control, we have to suppress. This time it's no, we have to eradicate.
And then what is his speech? Because he said something about being able to speak and the difference between good and evil and good.
I'll be honest. The script has actually a lot of stuff being said by
Unnamed person, guerrilla leader.
And it's a lot.
Okay.
And I have no idea if they filmed it, and I would love to see it filmed because it gives more context of what's
Oh,
happening.
really? Do you want to read it?
I mean,
you
I
comfortable
can.
doing
I
it?
can read what the script says.
Tell us.
All right.
I'll
let me go
interrupt
back
you
there.
when I get to the part I think I'm talking about.
All right. So, let me find the beginning of this. It says...
Oh, you haven't go back pages. All right.
I am. 13, 12...
We got one more day after this, Todd. Stay
I
awake.
know. I'm fading over here.
You got to stay awake till tomorrow.
French toast.
You can
please.
sleep in the corner. We'll wake you up tomorrow. We'll get this
Awesome.
over with. All right.
Awesome.
All right. What I saw when I became your army commander broke my heart. I saw our country imprisoned on one side by the sea, and by the north, the south, and the west by naked desert. And inside our country, we found ourselves infected by those enormous parasites which we call humans. By parasites who devoured the fruits that we had planted in a land rightly ours. We flattened on the fertility of our fields, that we made green with our wheat, who polluted the pure and precious water of our lakes and rivers with their animal excrement, who continued to breed in our very midst like maggots in a once healthy body. What should we do? How should we act? I know that every soldier knows the only thing that counts in the end is power.